Hey folks, this is part two of a two-part episode, which is why this is the second part, and the other one was the first part of the episode that just goes into whether or not you need to reinvent yourself is the first part, and the second part is how to do that. So I'm gonna snap my fingers, and we're gonna go right back in like it never happened that we stopped and go back into actually how you can improve yourself and just reinvent who you are into something that you aren't, because that's what you should be. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2.
The Brad Johnson Show. 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Blast off. Welcome to the Brad Johnson Show.
I'm Brad Johnson, and I'm turning losers like you into winners like me.
The Brad Johnson Show with your host, Brad Johnson.
Get ready to start winning.
And now your host, Brad Johnson.
All right, it's like we never left. Okay, so James, I want to get right into this because these people, they need this information now.
Yeah, it's urgent. Guys, this is very urgent.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, let's talk a little bit about reinvention. Now, obviously, compound word, you know me, big
right.
Etymology geek, as I like to say. So reinvention, that is a compound word of multiple words that are put together for the creation of this word.
Exactly. And this word is so deep and meaningful and impactful that you have to understand it before you can reinvent yourself. If you don't know what the word means, you might as well not even try.
Exactly. Okay, so just to give you guys a little etymology on the word, it's a combination of re, which is a front part of a word that means again, and then it's also the word in, which is the opposite of out, and then the word vent, which is, where air comes through, and then shun, which is the vent part, and then the shun. So that's not the same as shun, but it's very similar in its root of the etymology of it. So there you go. That's the etymology of reinvention, and it's very important.
I love it. That is so helpful, because really you have to think about shunning your old self in order to create a new self. That's really what it comes down to.
Exactly. So the idea of the word is, like I said, in is the opposite of out. So you're going inside you and pulling out the stuff that you don't want, and then putting it through the vent as you shun it.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, yep. Okay, so now that we got that covered, let's get into these, James. These are, how many tips do we have here today?
We've got
the number.
4.
Okay. 4.
Which isn't as nice of a round number, but that's all we've got.
Why did we do 4, James?
This is taken from an article by
numbers.
Lian Ho, and he didn't do more than 4. I'm sorry.
We need to talk to that guy. You can't do list posts with 4. That's the dumbest number ever.
Oh, maybe he needs to reinvent himself in his writing
I
style.
think so. I think so. So maybe I'll just tack one on at the end, because I'm sure I can come up with something. All right, so hit me with number 1.
Number 1, refresh your perspective.
Okay, perspective. I talk about this so often, don't I, James?
Yes, your perspective is choosing which window to look out from your mansion.
Exactly. And it's like, which room do I stand in to look out of a window? And it's, the same thing with even driving one, like my Tesla or something. It's like, okay, do I have, Carl drive for me, or do I just look out the window myself as I drive? Because then I can't look out all the windows because I have to drive. So Those self-driving cars they're not completely self-driving yet, and they could never be as good as me anyway. So it's all about perspective.
Exactly. And it's really important to make sure you have lots of self-defeating talk, which that's what a lot of people talk about is being counterintuitive to most people's thinking, because you have to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing in order to make progress.
Well, and there's a famous saying. I think I said it first, but it has to do about conquering self is the first battle of the war. And if you use some self-defeating talk, then like you've already got a leg up on yourself.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's all right, I'll just run through some of these statements that we can use to help us change our perspective and to beat down our old self. So first one is, I am not confident in the presence of others. Everything will not work out for me.
Whoa.
The tools I need to succeed are not in my possession. Happiness will never be within my grasp. I will say yes when I do not have the time or inclination to act. If I win, I will win downward.
Whoa.
Negativity is a choice that I choose to not maybe make. And my commitment to myself is fake. Whoa. And that's just a great way to get yourself really angry to make some positive change.
Yeah, no, and that's that you beat yourself down, and then you can rise from the ashes. Because I mean, who doesn't love a good underdog story? Am I right?
Exactly. I mean, not that yours was like that at all, but it is good to see.
Exactly. All right. So change your perspective. If you're having, all this positive, thoughts and stuff like that, do some self-defeating talk and see if you can beat yourself down so you can come back from that, because that's a good thing to do. All right. So that's tip number 1, is to change your perspective. Don't look at it from the way that you are looking at it, because chances are you're kind of short and have bad posture, and looking at things from that angle is just depressing. So let's hit them with number 2.
Number 2, recognize the power of purpose.
Okay. This is so important because I think, there's a lot of those so-called gurus out there. I am actually a certified guru, so there's a big difference. It's just, you see all these like they don't know what they're talking about, and they're running around calling themselves a guru, and it's like, dude, do you even goo or roo? Like, I doubt it.
Do you have the plaque on your wall? I doubt
exactly.
it.
I do. I have a lot of plaques on my walls. I actually had to build some extra walls just for all the plaques. But that's another story. So we're talking about purpose, though. So my purpose, obviously, winning. I got that in spades, and also with diamonds and clubs and the other ones too. So I've got them all over the place. So if you need to find your purpose, so we're talking about reinventing ourselves. Let's just bring it back. Reinventing is getting rid of that old self, and your old self had a purpose, and it was probably losing. So now you need to figure out a different one.
Right. And that changes only when we outline for ourselves what is and what isn't important. And I think that's really crucial to think about, is where are your priorities and what is important to you? Is it money? If it's not, it should be. That's a really important one.
Yeah. And I just want to quote a good friend of mine, Viktor Frankl. I love how he just threw an L on the end of his name. It's like you see Frank coming, and it's like Frankl, and you're like, whoa, it's just, defies your understanding of, well, yeah, exactly. He's quite the dude. Anyway, after a talk, I think it was like after a talk with me, he kind of had this just epiphany, and he said this: life is never, excuse me. Oh, man, that protein shake. Man, life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. Okay, so if you don't have meaning and purpose, your life is unbearable. And it's unbearable even for me, and I'm not even living your life.
Well, yeah, it's unbearable for the people around you that have to suffer by watching you suffer.
Yeah. And it's not even so much, me suffering by seeing them suffer. It's more just suffering because I'm seeing them, period. So
true.
All right. So just find your purpose, and it's not that hard. People have written books on it, and I have too, and mine's the best of book for doing that. So go ahead and just find your purpose. Just do it. All right.
Number 3, understand how to hit your goals. And I would say really hard is probably best.
Yeah. No, I see people. It's like if you pretend that your goal is one of those punching machines that you can get the prizes from, hit it like you mean it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even if it comes back and hits you in the face, just keep hitting it harder and harder every time.
Yeah. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't care. No. You care, though. Your goals are there for you to hit them.
Right. You should care.
Okay. And we talk about setting SMART goals. Forget that, okay? Set winning goals, okay? And I'm still working on that acronym, but it stands for the W stands for winning, and the I stands for intense. N stands for neurotic,
Mm-hmm.
and the other end also stands for neurotic, and the E stands for emphatic, and the R stands for really good.
Wait, what
So
was the word
that's
again?
winner. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
forgot. It was
winner.
just kind of long.
Right. No, it's the right length, James. So those are the kind of goals that you want to set. Forget the SMART goals. That's a waste of time. If you can actually take a winnerly goal and make it your goal and then do it, like it's going to change your life.
It should, if you're doing it right.
Exactly. All right. So that is number 3. Understand how to hit your goals. If you're trying to reinvent yourself, you gotta have different goals. So shun
Exactly.
the old ones, get the other ones that are better. All right.
Yeah.
Let's do number 4.
Number 4, know the value of your time. This is something people get wrong all the time.
Yeah, because they overestimate it all the time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're like, "Oh, my time's worth X number of dollars," and it's like, "Well, no, it's not." So
No, it shouldn't be.
yeah. Yeah, so you got to realize that, time is something that everybody has. Therefore, your time is no more special than anybody else's time. Therefore, it's actually not worth that much.
Yeah, well, your value comes from you and never the time that you spend on something. That's why you're able to take so many lengthy vacations and things, because you don't have to spend 40 hours every week working. Like, who does that anymore? It doesn't require that much time. It's how much value you're putting in just by being in your space.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and people will just recognize that and start paying you for it. So it's just, it's an amazing transformation when you get that formula right. It really can change things around. So yeah, that is great. Okay, so man, stupid article. Four tips. Who does 4 tips?
Yeah, we could make up a 5th one if you want.
Well, no, and that's I had a thought as far as what a 5th one would be, and I came up with it with my brain. And what I would say the 5th one would be, if you're trying to, here's 5 tips to reinvent yourself. Excuse me?
I have to lead into it. I have to say it. And number 5 is, and then you can fill it.
Fine, do it.
I already did it. You missed it.
James. All right. Number 5 is mirrors. That's what it is. Mirrors. Yeah, so this is something that we've talked about several times on this show. I know it's a huge part of my morning routine, and my good buddy Chris White, I had him on the podcast. I don't remember what episode number that was, but Chris, we talked about mirrors and just how important they are. And if you're trying to reinvent yourself, what better way to do it than by constantly reminding yourself of what you don't like looking at in yourself? And that's where mirrors can totally come in handy.
Exactly. And what better way to motivate yourself than by doing more of what we did earlier, by beating ourselves down, by reminding ourselves of how much we need to improve.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the change will just come. It's natural. It'll flow through there. And that's that state of flow that people talk about getting into. That isn't going to happen unless you actually figure out flow. So that's where that comes from. All right. Cool. Nice. All right. So 5 tips right there. Boom. How to reinvent yourself. Okay. We proved in the last episode that you need it. And now we've shown you exactly how to do it. So let's make that happen. All right. Great stuff there from my brain into your brain cavity. So now it's time for the sound, my social footprint. This is where I read what you guys had to say about what I had to say and say what I had to say about that. All right. Let's hit this. We got so much stuff to cover here. Just give it to me.
This comes from @GreenwoodTales, who says, #tripod. If you want to give somebody a laugh, I tell them to subscribe to the Brad Johnson Show.
Well, I am really good at comedy. That's for sure. We had that episode, man. I got that with the first female guest. That was 2.16. The first female guest of the show. She was a comedian, and I showed the fact that I am a comedian. So totally agree with you there at Greenwood Tales. Next one.
This is from Lisa David Olson, who says, I learned so much from your first first, second female guest.
Okay, James, if you're gonna read them, just read them.
Well,
right.
but that's confusing. What is it?
It's not confusing.
Why is it
She's the
second?
first, second female.
Was she
guest.
first or second? Like,
No,
up
she
your
was
mind.
the first, second female.
She
Anyway.
typed the comment. It wasn't me.
Okay, no. So Lisa David Olson. Yes, that was actually the comedian I was just talking about. Yeah. So 2.16 comedy and entrepreneurship with the first female guest. So then we had our second female guest on. Oh man, what was that? That was the travel episode 2.25. So go and listen to those. Check out those episodes with those amazing females, the first and the second, and the first, second female guest. Amazing stuff. So thanks for that, Lisa.
This comes from Baron Stino, who says, "Thanks for sharing. Love your content."
Yeah, they got an emoji face on there too. That says love like nothing else. Next one.
This comes from a future lifestyle mentor everything. That's quite the lengthy name.
That is
Everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. With the praying hands.
I would actually change that around, and would say that not everything has beauty, and everyone sees it, because that is more of a true thing than what he said. So
That was a good try.
Well, thanks. Yeah, he tried. All right, thanks guys so much for the social interaction today. There's so much action going on the social mediums. You got to go check them out. That's why I have made my handles super simple for you, because they're easy. At Brad Johnson Show on all the social mediums, like whichever ones you could want to connect with me on, which is all of them, you can find me at Brad Johnson Show.
Except Google Plus, it closed down.
Well, that was sad. A lot of stock in that, and that just kind of disappointed. It got a bad tip from somebody for sure. That was messed up.
Yeah.
But no worries, I can I can totally handle getting hit in the pocketbook because it's so thick. All right. Thanks guys so much for listening today. Go reinvent yourself, because the world needs it, because it doesn't need whatever you are now. So do that. All right. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to The Brad Johnson Show, where every episode we bring you tips, tricks, interviews, advice, and answers to fix the mess that is your life, while helping you stop being a loser and start winning in business, health, and your personal life. Show us your face, tweet us your tweets, and Insta your grams at Brad Johnson Show. The Brad Johnson Show. Winners only.
If there's one thing that I know, it's business. But I know many things. And I also know that you don't need to worry, because you aren't the only one. You aren't the only business that needs help. You aren't the only person that has a hard time finding the right help at the right price. This is where Business Bloodline becomes your bloodline to temporary and permanent staffing. Business Bloodline specializes in hiring internet workers to creatively solve problems for your business. Business Bloodline does all the vetting and only delivers candidates that make sense for your needs and at a cost that you can afford. But 60 seconds isn't enough for me to tell you why hiring through Business Bloodline is safer, cheaper, and less time-consuming. I would rather show you. To get more information or business consultation, visit businessbloodline.com. If the job can be done on the computer, Business Bloodline can find a match. Visit businessbloodline.com and be sure to tell them that you heard about them on The Brad Johnson Show to get 10% off your first hire. businessbloodline.com. And remember to tell them Brad sent you.